Anytime you use a mold to make soap uh, that is made of wood or any other material other than a very smooth plastic or silicone, you're probably going to want to line it in order to be able to get the soap out easily and cleanly. So this is a short video on how I line my wooden molds, and other people do their lining differently, but this is how I do it. I thought that might be useful to some people. I'm going to be using a 15 bar wooden mold. This came from Papa's Woodcraft on Etsy. And as is true with any wooden mold, you have to line it because obviously it would leak, but also the soap would stick to the wood and you'd never get it out of there. So I'm going to line it with freezer paper. This is Reynolds plastic coated freezer paper. And I'll be fastening that with masking tape. Different people line their molds in different ways, and there's really no right or wrong way. What you want is to neatly line the mold so it doesn't have creases or bumps in the sides of your soap. You don't want it to leak. And so I'm just going to show how I do it. With my masking tape, I start out by taking 4 short pieces, and I usually just stick them to the end of the table. These will be to hold my folded corners of the liner paper. And then I use 4 longer pieces to stabilize the liner paper in the mold. I think I've said this on previous videos, but I tend to be rather messy when I pour my soaps, and so the mold over the years has picked up a lot of bits of soap on it. Well, masking tape and most other kinds of tape won't stick to soap. So by using the long pieces, I can wrap them around the corner so that I'm taping paper to paper. There's no tape needed to be on the mold at all. So to line this mold, I'm going to take a piece that is, probably 3 inches on each side, so 6 total inches longer than the mold itself. And I'm realizing I forgot a pair of scissors. Now, freezer paper has a dull side and a shiny side. The shiny side is the plastic coating. That's the side that we're ultimately going to want to have on the inside of the mold touching the soap, whereas the plain paper side is going to be to the outside. So I'm going to turn this upside down, shiny side down. I'm going to align the paper so I've got a good close to 3 inches border on all sides. And then just holding this paper down rather firmly using a fingernail and going just inside the wall of the mold, I'm going to create a crease. Now, without letting that paper move at all, use my thumbnail this time. Make a crease on that side. Again, hold the paper very steady. And one last time, hold the paper steady. So now, I don't know how well this will show in the camera, but I have a crease that is exactly the size of the internal dimensions of that mold. That's what I wanted. And now, because I just eyeballed ripping the piece of paper, it's longer than it needs to be. I only need, as I say, 2 to 3 inches on each side. If I leave too much, it's going to be harder to fold. So you may want to measure this for your mold when you get started, but eventually you can just kind of do it from memory and eyeballing it. So that's going to be plenty. Now, what I'm going to do is, I've got it back shiny side up. The plastic side is up. And if you notice on this crease that you made, it's not infinitely thin. It has a definite width to it. So I'm going to fold this to the inside of that crease, meaning that my fold is going to be slightly smaller than that is to say, the internal dimensions of my folded piece of paper will be slightly smaller than the center of those fingernail folds. Four sides. So I've got 4 folds. Now, on a corner, I have where the 2 folds cross over each other. There's that point. And so I'm going to turn it back now to the dull side. I'm going to find that point where those 2 folds come together. I'm going to hold that with one hand, exactly in that point. And then I'm going to find where the 2 folds come down the sides. I'm going to match them up. I want to align them. And then I'll fold that into a triangle. And then along the lines of the other fold that down and tape it with one of my short pieces of tape. So that gives me the first corner of my 3-dimensional mold liner. I'm going to do that to the other 4 corners. Find where the folds come together, pinch at that point, line up the 2 folds, make a nice neat crease there, fold this one in. Tape it. There's my second corner. I usually do this with a table this close in front of me, so it's a little awkward. So there's my folded mold, and if I've done this right, it should slide neatly into the wooden mold. So now, taking my scissors, I'm going to cut down the corners just to the top of the mold, no lower or it'll leak if I fill that mold. And using 8 fingers in here to hold this flat and steady against the floor, I'm going to use the palms of my hand to fold this piece of paper over, make 2 neat creases, do the same thing on the second side, and then put a piece of tape around there to hold those 2 edges together. And I'll repeat that the whole way around. So now, that mold is nicely lined. It's got nice straight walls. They may bulge in a little, but the weight of the soap will push them out. So we should get a nice rectangular slab of soap with no weird creases on the edges at all.